In this video, we want to highlight two features in ThoughtFarmer that can really help with internal communications with your staff, whether they are in front of a computer or they're out on the road or on the production floor. We're going to be talking first about our broadcast tool and second about our required reading tool in ThoughtFarmer. So let's start with broadcast. Broadcast is a feature in ThoughtFarmer that allows you to highlight important news and send it to all your employees on different types of devices and through different channels. First thing we want to do is head into the admin panel and make sure that we activate or enable that broadcast feature. I'm looking here in my content area of the admin panel. At the very bottom, I will see a broadcast option. So as an administrator, I'll go there, make sure that this is switched on so that people will start to have the option to start broadcasting information. Now, in terms of who can perform that activity on your internet, you do have the option between limiting it only to administrators, or you can allow a specific security group or specific individuals from performing these types of actions. So maybe I can give all of my content owners this option, as well as maybe our CEO and some people in our human resources department. Now that I have set those permissions, or I've enabled the broadcast, I have decided who can send broadcast notifications. Let's take a look at an example. So let's assume that one of our offices is having an issue. Our elevators are going to need some maintenance work, and we need to get that message out to all of our staff so that they know not to enter the building from that side where the elevators are broken down, but to enter the building from the other side. To do that, obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is draft a news post. So I'm going to add my new news item here, and then I'm going to start drafting that message. As always with a news post, I want to make sure that I add a nice thumbnail image to any news post that I am creating. So I'll select one here from my computer. Make sure to optimize it for all of my different possible news layouts, including the carousel. And I'll go ahead and publish it. If I go back to my homepage now, you will see that this notice is right up here in the news feed, and it should also come up in our news carousel as well. Now this is fine, and like people who visit the homepage will definitely see this, but this is more of an urgent message. So I want to make sure that I now send out a notification through different channels to all of our Vancouver staff. So once I'm back in my news item, I will now start the broadcast. You'll notice in the page header that we have this bullhorn icon here. If I go and click that, it'll give me the option to start a broadcast from here. Now I can give this a name. This name that I'm selecting here is only going to show up in the broadcast center, so I can make that a little bit shorter. Click on save, and now it's going to bring me into the broadcast options, right? So the first thing to select is when this broadcast is going to go out. Now in this case, the maintenance is only going to happen on July 15th. So I want to make sure that the message is sent out prior to July 15th, but not too far in advance so people don't forget about my message. So why don't I send it out for July 7th. I can choose the time and the time zone, and then I can choose who this message is going to go to. By default, it's going to go to all registered users on your site as well as yourself. But in this case, it really just needs to go to any of my staff that are in the Vancouver office. So I can just limit this broadcast to only those people. I can now make a title or subject for my notice. So I will say elevators unavailable, July 15th. Sometimes you have to play a little bit with the wording here, just because the title doesn't have that many characters available to you, but you do have the text here where you can add a bit more information for people. So please read our notice for upcoming elevator maintenance in Vancouver. You'll notice that this broadcast is now automatically already linking to that news post that I created that has a lot more information and details for staff about the event that's happening. And this is where I can start thinking about the channels. So there's 3 different ways you can broadcast a message. An intranet banner is going to put a big colorful banner at the very top of your Thought Farmer site that people won't be able to miss if they visit the intranet. You can do an email notification. Again, it's going to send out an email to everybody in the Vancouver office with a brief message and a link back to that article. And you can also do a mobile push. If you're using our Thought Farmer native mobile app, then all of your staff who are using the mobile app will actually get a push notification on their device that will let them know that there's an important news item that requires their attention. Again, if you have a lot of staff that doesn't necessarily sit in front of a computer, whether it is people out in the field or people who work out of other people's homes or on the shop floor, that can be a really handy way for communicating with those staff, even though they might not be checking email or visiting the internet. I'm going to select the internet banner. I can preview that banner from here. If I click on that, you'll see what that is actually going to look like for staff. As you can see, it will have a link for them to read more, and there's an option for them to dismiss the message. You could also select when you want that banner to expire. When do you want it to disappear for people if they haven't dismissed it themselves? In this case, I'm going to select July 16th because the maintenance work is on the 15th. It's going to no longer be relevant on the 16th. So I am going to select that on July 16th at 8 a.m. That message will expire. Obviously, you also have the option to never expire broadcast message in the internet banner if that is your requirement. In this case, I'm just going to enable every single channel because this is really important, and I want to make sure I don't miss any of my staff members and make sure everybody reads this message. For both the mobile push notification and the email, again, you do have the option to test that out for yourself before you actually send that out. From here, you can save your draft, or you can schedule your broadcast message from here. It says schedule and not send because this one is set up to be scheduled in the future. I'll click on this. It gives me a little bit of a confirmation on when my message will be sent out, how many recipients it will go to, and who that group of people is. And now I can just reconfirm and schedule it. Now we'll see here in the broadcast center that this is now at the top of the list, and it's set in orange, meaning that this message is scheduled. It's not yet gone out. The broadcast center, I'm in there now because I just scheduled this message. There's another way you can go to it. So the broadcast message I did there earlier was done directly from this news post. If you are somebody who has access to send broadcasts, or even if you just want to take a look at all of the broadcast messages that you have, you can access it from your profile menu and clicking on Broadcast Center. So here I am. And I can now see my elevator repair and draft. For any of the other broadcast messages that have already gone out, I can go and take a look here and see what their status is, right? Like I can see when it was sent out, whether it's a draft, a schedule, or something that was sent, when that was sent, and how many people have filled it out underneath the stats. So if I click on one of these as an example, we can see that we have a number of people who have viewed this, and we can also see who hasn't clicked through. So for banner views and for mobile push notifications, we do see some stats as to who has clicked on what. So the flooding one here might be a good example. You can see here under channels, it was something that was sent out only through mobile push notification. And I can see now that there was 29 people who have received that mobile push notification. One person has tapped on the message and advanced into the news post itself. Typically, if you send out broadcasts for a while after you've sent out the broadcast, you can expect higher numbers for a flooding message like this. Note that from the broadcast center, you also are able to create a new broadcast. So it's something that you can do either from a specific page on the internet or from the broadcast center itself. That's broadcast. Let's take a look at the other area that is really handy for internal communication, more sort of like related to the compliance or important content, and that is our required reading feature. This is going to allow you to identify certain types of content on the internet, whether it is a code of conduct or an important policy, and track which of your staff has read and confirmed that they agree with that information. We're going to again start from the admin panel so that we can make sure to enable our required reading. Going again into the content area, right above broadcast, I will see my required reading message, or function. Again, if this is something you would like to use, make sure that it is enabled here and the toggle is switched to on. And before you go and start using the feature, again, notice the same permission option that we saw there with broadcast. You can specify here, even with a bit more flexibility, as to which people in the organization have the permission to set up content as required reading. In our case, we've chosen to give anybody with view and edit permissions the ability to make content required. Some people might choose to only give the staff in their internal communications or HR team or executive team that option. It's really flexible. You can also restrict it to only administrators. You'll see that you have some flexibility here in terms of messaging, right? So you can see a preview of the message that people are going to see on top of a page that has been marked as required. And you can also even update the message that is going to be featured in the banner. The default here is confirm that you have read and understood this page. You can work with that copy and make it your own if you like, and you can even change the button so you can say confirm or agree or something like that, and that can all be customized here in this area. Again, if you do use ThoughtFarmer in different languages, note that this is of course completely localized, so you can really define that copy for every single language you use. Okay, so now that we have enabled required reading, we're going to enable it on one of our pages. So I'm going to find my new COVID policy. We have a page here. It is our return to work policy. And this is a page that has already been set up with required reading. So I'm going to go in here and take a look at the required reading by expanding my page header, clicking on the required reading tab, and from here I can see what the status is of this particular page. So this is one that I have already worked on in the past. I've set it up to be required by a specific number of people, and I can now click on the report itself to see what has happened. So this one has gone out to 137 people, which is probably all staff on my internet. I can now take a look and see who has confirmed or not confirmed all of this information. So if I open up this drop down, I can tell them to show me all of the confirmed. So these 5 lovely people have confirmed that they have read this new go to work policy. Similarly, of course, I can take a look at everybody who hasn't confirmed, and then I can take some actions from here if I need to. If there are some people who I really want to send a nudge, I could either send them an email, right? So I can send an email to everybody who has not confirmed from here. If it's a bit more sensitive, I also have the information for each person's manager here, so I can even reach out to those people if needed. If this is an older page and you are deciding the required reading is no longer necessary, you can delete all data from here. Another thing that you can do is reset the required reading on this page. This is something that will trigger all staff when they visit the page again to reconfirm the content. So this might be the case if you have a policy that has been in place for a long time, all staff have already confirmed they have read that content. If you in the future need to make an important change to it, you can then reset it so that again everybody who visits the page will be required to fill it out. Let's just give us a quick preview of how to actually set it up. So I'm going to go back to my news article that I created here. Arguably not the best example for required reading, but just to show you how the functionality works. I'll go in my required reading tab. I can click on assign required readers. And from here, I can either add a number of individual people, or I can say, you know what, everybody who's in the Vancouver team is required to view this page. I will add them here, click on save, and that's that. Because I am a member of the Vancouver team, I do see the required reading message myself. So again, it tells me, please confirm that you have read and understood this page. I'm going to click on confirmed. It changes the banner to a nice green one, which I can dismiss if I want. And in the reporting, it is now showing 1 confirmed and 28 remaining. So if you want to take a look at all the required reading that is available on the site, you can also access it from your profile dropdown. Click on required reading, and that is going to give you, for each staff member, it's going to show them an overview of all of the pages they have either read or confirmed already, as well as the one that they still have to acknowledge. If you are somebody who manages required reading, you'll have a second tab that just shows you all of the content that you have set as required reading, that you can edit or that you own. And for each of those pages, it gives you just a really quick preview into how many people or how far the progress has been in terms of people acknowledging that content. Of course, you have a direct link here to the full report as well. Now, one last thing that you may want to consider if you are using required reading on your internet is to add it to people's home pages. So if I go to my homepage here, you'll see that aside from all of my news, I have a required reading widget on my homepage. And if you add this to your homepage template, it's going to, for each individual staff member, show them all of the pages that they still need to confirm or read if they haven't done so already. Of course, this will be different for every single member of staff, depending on which required reading pages they have been added to. Maybe I have confirmed everything and I don't have anything to verify. If that's the case, then this card will just disappear and it will not show up for me. Again, as a reminder, if this is something you want to add to your homepage, you can do so by editing your homepage and going into the card setup. The required reading card, again, is a card that you can easily just add from the card library here. And that's it. That is required reading. Again, it can really help with ensuring that content that people really need to know about is sent to them with a widget on the homepage, as well as a link in their required reading from their profile menu. It's really nice to keep track of whether certain important policies or compliance information on your internet is being read, and that you have an audit trail to track that back. So that was broadcast and required reading. A lot of information on how to best communicate with your staff. If you have any questions about any of the things explained today, please feel free to access our knowledge base or get in touch with our support team.